The other goals I think about are like using unfamiliar restrooms. So even if you don't make it a goal, but
Yes.
teaching your students to, you can do this at school. Take them to the restroom that's on the other side of the school.
Welcome to the Misfit Behaviorists podcast. Join your hosts, Audra Jensen and Caitlin Beltran, here to bring you evidence-based strategies with a student-centered focus. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Misfit Behaviorists. Caitlin and I are here doing toilet training part 2. We are talking about goals and data collection today. Last week talking about sort of an overview of what toilet training joys we have, and Caitlin is going to be talking about data today. But before we do that, don't forget to hop over to our Facebook group, grab our freebies, make sure you like and follow and subscribe so that we can see you over there and join in. And we'd love to hear from you, get some ideas of what you want to hear us talking about. And we will do our best to respond to everybody and to chat about what you're interested in. So that's what we're here for. So Caitlin, take it away.
Yeah, so I think for me, I understood the importance of writing these goals specifically in the IEP for toilet training when I started teaching my own classroom because, as we talked about last week, there's times where if you're even thinking about starting the process, you're going to be losing a lot of instructional time. So if they're going to the bathroom every half hour, it might take 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. I mean, hopefully the time schedules change and everything like that. But we know academics may move or functional skills may move to the back burner for whatever period of time. So we want to really be accountable for that time. Like, what are we doing in its place? And so if you're doing, especially an intensive toilet training process, and it's not in your IEP program, something's missing there, right? So when I started thinking about how to wrap my head around writing a toileting goal, well, we talked last week about how everything is so individualized for your learner. And similarly, to me, I think there's no two IEP goals that are going to be quite the same for two different learners who are in the toilet training process. And so I kind of broke them up into, and this is kind of my process, like overall, I pull from like 4 different categories. So we mentioned last week, if you have a learner who's really afraid, really new to the process, and maybe like I've had learners really scared of the classroom bathroom because one time they heard the dryer go off and that noise just rattled them. And so I literally had a girl who would never even go near the bathroom. And so when we started thinking about toilet training, we were like, how are we going to do this? She won't even set foot in the bathroom. So we had to write a goal.
How about those toilets? The
Oh,
flushing toilets. The ones, even my
yes.
typically developing daughter would sit on those magic toilets
Yes.
that would flush their butt. She was sure she was going to get flushed down the
Oh,
toilet
I know.
because they
It's
would flush on her
scary.
because they're
Yeah.
so tiny. They're little butts,
Right.
so
And
it's
all of a sudden
awful.
you're like, what is that
Yes.
noise? And there's like a pressure. Yeah. Before you can even start to think about writing a goal for success or time schedules, how are we getting them in the bathroom? So again, this is not every learner. I always say take a week or so to baseline, see what you're working with in terms of skills and see who you're working with and their preferences and all of that before you write the goal. And remembering that, you don't have to decide this when the IEP is signed off on in June. If you decide come October that child's ready, then you amend the IEP and add the goal. So just do some quick assessments first to see where they're at just within the whole overall goal. Again, thinking about a learner who is really afraid of the bathroom and maybe has had fears similar of other things that you knew took a long time, you may be writing a goal such as a desensitization goal. Like student will successfully tolerate extended time in the bathroom up to 45 seconds, 90 seconds without trying to run away, without screaming for, 4 to 5 opportunities, because that could take you 3 months. And then in my experience, once that's achieved, you can kind of coast into your next goal, which is going to be actually sitting on the toilet and using it. And that will hopefully go quicker. But we don't want to underestimate that huge chunk of time in the beginning because it's still time pulled away from other goals, but you're focusing on a small part of a really important chain.
I even add a lot of times a goal between this and actually voiding is making that routine goal. It's just practicing
Yeah.
going into the bathroom, especially with preschoolers, going into the bathroom, going the whole routine of taking off the pants, sitting on the toilet, not even expecting anything to happen, sitting on the toilet, getting the
Exactly.
toilet paper, putting it away, flushing, going through the whole routine and ending and doing that until they're independent before you even expect any sort of voiding to happen.
Right. For sure. So there could be a goal for desensitization. And for desensitization, I would think you're tracking the time. So you're either writing, okay, how long the learner was able to successfully stay in the bathroom. So like 10 seconds, 12 seconds, or you're picking a time interval and saying, okay, if they can go in for 10 seconds plus, and then waiting for 3 or 4 pluses in a row, and then asking them to go in for 15 seconds and trying to make it functional. So if they're extending the time, you don't just want them to stand there and wait in the bathroom, but maybe being creative, like, hey, can you get me a paper towel? Like, can you go I left my shoes in the bathroom or something, so that they're just getting over the fear and seeing that like it's okay, you can go in and out, but you're not asking too much at once. And then I think the more general goal that I have done is just increased success. So this could apply to a learner who is just learning, but they don't have that fear of the bathroom. They're willing to go in, they're willing to sit, as Audra said, they're doing the routine, but now I'm writing a goal for either, it might look like they're going to maintain dry pants without urine or bowel movement accident, potentially on a timed schedule of 60 minutes. I like to add that qualifier if it's a student who's more structured, and I know we're probably not going to wean off into independently requesting yet. I'm still taking them on a timed schedule. And I had to really understand that a lot of people don't consider that toilet training. They don't consider a child who is going on a timed schedule that an adult is giving them, even though they're staying dry within that. Some people might say, well, they're not actually toilet trained. I mean, to me, it's potato. Like they may be on that schedule for life, but we talked about last episode, there's the timer on the watch, there's ways to promote independence, or you're working with a learner who cognitively that is the most independent they will ever get. And that's still a huge accomplishment to celebrate. Maybe writing a goal for, when taken to the bathroom every 60 minutes for the duration of the school day, they will remain dry for, 90% success or of the month or something, because everyone has an off day.
Yep.
And we don't want to penalize them for that.
Yep.
I have some sample data sheets I'm going to throw in the Facebook group where you could be tracking, just the date, time, circle, what happened, dry, accident, voided. Just so, again, we're looking for patterns. We're seeing if we are seeing accidents, are they usually after lunch or in the morning, or is our interval too long? But that we're really tracking as we go. And then another category I like to use is if this would be for a learner who's potentially going successfully on a time schedule, but I think they're ready to start requesting. So I have had learners plateau a little bit where I'm taking them on the schedule, my alarm is going off and I'm saying, hey, do you need the bathroom? And they're saying yes, or maybe using their augmentative device. But now I'm thinking, you know what, they're doing so well with this. And I've seen them have communicative intent and other things. Let me see if I can just fade myself out a little bit, because of course the ultimate goal would be for that child or adult to ask themselves or to some way indicate that they need the bathroom. So this could be a verbal response. It might look like student will independently verbalize a request to use the bathroom, whether they say bathroom please, or exchanging a card that has a picture of the toilet. They could be hitting the button on their augmentative communication device, with 80% success over 2 weeks or something like that. And there you're looking at hopefully not just requesting, but also doing that kind of correspondence check. So when they're asking, they really are going,
Right.
And that they're not asking sometimes, but having accidents in between as well.
Right. Have you seen or used a way to bridge full dependence to an independent? Have you had some success in moderating kind of that in-between stage?
That's a great question, because I think one thing that's overlooked a lot is when we start learners on a timed schedule and that timer goes off, even from the very beginning, instead of just going over to the learner and saying, time to go to the bathroom, putting that cue out in front of them. So even if the child does not have verbal words yet, even if they don't have a consistent picture response communication yet, from the very beginning, modeling that response. So my timer's going off. I'm still the one, starting the sequence, but they don't hear the timer. I'm just going over to their desk, putting the toilet picture, having them tap it, or having them press toilet on their device, or modeling bathroom, please. And then repeating it as me saying, oh, you need the bathroom? Sounds good. Let's go.
That's good.
And that one, we're just tracking, did they go? Did they request? And then the correlation of those, are they matching up? And then I think the final one was just increased independence. So Audra, I don't know if you've seen this a lot, but once they get over the hump of learning to void on the toilet, there's washing the hands, there's, potentially buttoning and zippering and all those things with pants, or if the girls are wearing tights or something like that, using the toilet paper, all the things that we're naturally doing as adults without thinking of it. And sometimes it includes just maybe giving a once over in the mirror, like, am I ready to go out? Because, we have learners all the time come out of our preschool bathrooms like, I'm done. Like, the pants are maybe a little too low, or the shirt's up around their belly or something.
Yeah, I love that.
Again, just promoting that dignity. And that could be like a task analysis where we're just saying, did they ask? Did they go? Did they, undress as little as they need to? Did they wipe? Did they come out? And checking off, did they turn off the light? Did they throw their paper towel away after they washed and dried hands?
One thing I was really thinking about on your previous one, on the independence thing, what I've worked on teaching students is using those natural transitions in life to teach them to use the bathroom automatically. So teaching them to automatically assume that to just initiate going to the bathroom on natural transitions. So we're going out to recess to teach them to go to the bathroom before they go to recess. When they're going to lunch, to naturally teach them to go to the bathroom before they go to lunch. And before they go onto the bus, to teach them to go to the bathroom before they go to the bus. And that just gives them naturally that independence, even though they're not saying, I have to go to the bathroom, I need to ask to go to the bathroom. That just gives them that independence without having to realize when they have to go. It just naturally gives them. And then we're not having to, our timer has gone off, we have to tell you to go, even if they're not on that timer anymore, they just kind of flows. And that's what we do, is we're going on a trip. Everybody go to the bathroom, that's kind of what we do. And so that helps them get that kind of independence without having to verbally request it.
Exactly. And that's where we're hopefully fading from that really structured time interval to just more natural opportunity. Like I said, I've worked with learners who, young adolescent, early adulthood, who are still on a time schedule. And for them, that was a huge accomplishment to be celebrated. So it was potentially more independence than their parents ever thought they would have. So I don't really frown upon that. I still think every milestone should be celebrated. But absolutely, like when we leave the house, I know I'm going to be like, I'm going to use the bathroom. And my son will look at me and go, oh, I guess I'll try. Like he hates to go because he thinks I don't want to go. But, he's, I think, come to appreciate.
Dude, I'm over 50. I got to go to the bathroom before we go on a road trip. The other goals I think about are like using unfamiliar restrooms. So even if you don't make it a goal, but teaching your students you can do this at school. Take them to the restroom that's on the other side of the school. Take them to the restroom that's in the portables. Teach them to do that. Take them into the staff room. Get permission to do that, but take them into the staff room bathrooms where the toilets are different.
Ask mom or dad or a guardian if, hey, when you're going to the mall this week and then maybe stop and shop at the mall, can you use the bathroom at each time? Because once you hit that day where that learner needs to use it, and I've had learners where they're like, no, I'm going to hold it till we get home. I had a learner who recently, very routine, very structured, and she learned to use the hall bathroom, which was great. But we didn't realize, because she was pretty independent at the time, that she only used one stall. And there were 4 stalls. And even if all 4 were open, she'd use the one stall she preferred. But even if somebody was in that stall and 3 other stalls were open. And then one day, I think she was just in there for a while, and we were like, okay, that stall was like accidentally locked. I mean, nobody would know that she would have waited there all day. Of course, we were supervising, but just little things like that you don't think of.
Or if they've been potty trained at home in a single stall bathroom and they go to a multiple stall place, or little boys who have to go to use a urinal if they've never seen a urinal before,
when they don't pull down your whole pants.
That's a whole other thing. Like, we're a whole bunch of women in education. We have a bunch of boys, and you don't pull down your pants to your ankles. We learned that with my son too, because we were a bunch of women teaching him, and like the men had to teach him, you don't take your pants down to your ankles. It's like, we didn't know.
I literally never thought about that before I started working in a classroom with like 13 to 17-year-olds. And we would have one male parent, and I was like, bathroom.
And you don't stand right next to the other guy,
Apparently not.
We didn't know. The other thing is thinking about your young women who, starting earlier and earlier, thinking about feminine products, at 4th grade, you start thinking about 3rd and 4th graders are starting to have to think about prepare them, because some of them
Right.
start their periods earlier than you think, and have them prepared so it's not a big thing and it's not a worrisome thing. And so that they're prepared so that when that time comes, it's not a big deal, and
Same as
your
you.
staff knows what to do, because that's also,
Right.
they need to be prepared.
Totally. Similar to how you mentioned just going on the potty, doing the sequence without voiding, putting in the pad with the sequence. So the girl is now
Yes.
once a month, maybe change just once in a while, not every time, but just learning how it goes in, how it comes off,
Exactly.
so that they're ready.
Yeah. And other things I think about are, boys and girls, what to do about skid marks. They don't wipe very
Right.
well. They need to learn in looking at their underwear when it's dirty, when they need to change it, even if they haven't had an actual accident, they need to stay clean. Maybe they need to change their underwear when they haven't had a full-on accident,
Right.
or if they've been dirty out at the recess, they've been muddying around, they haven't had an actual accident. There are times when you need to change your pants or your underwear. These are all like things we need to think about. They could be goals, they could not be goals, but they're still kind of toileting and bathroom behaviors and hygiene that we need to think about for all of
Right.
our students.
We would practice, I know this sounds silly, but thinking of a learner where concepts aren't always sticking, like the wiping, like anyone can maybe go through the rote motion, but what does it mean to wipe until fully clean? So maybe putting some shaving cream on the plate, like this is clean. Or I've seen like balloons, like 2 balloons next to each other, and then having some Jello
love
in the
that
middle
one.
or something, just to teach that concept, because you really only get those natural opportunities once in a while.
I like using the dry, wet, dry.
Yeah.
So toilet paper, wet wipe, toilet paper.
Yeah.
So that's really good for poop. So those are little
the
tips.
concepts is so important. So much to consider.
Oh my gosh, so much.
I think that's it for toilet training part 2, but just a reminder, I'm going to pop those data sheets in the Facebook group, so go ahead and download them from the group.
Very cool. Thanks for joining us for these 2 parts toilet training. Next week, we are going to talk a little bit about task analysis and how to use breakdown skills into kind of a task analysis, how you can use that in your classrooms, how to teach your parents how to break down basic skills and to use those with your learners. Very basic, kind of everybody knows what a task, well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe not everybody knows what a task analysis is, but what to do with it and how to use it. And so that's what we'll talk about next week. So join us then, and we will see you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Misfit Behaviorists. And be sure to tune in next week for more tips and tricks. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.